Hi everyone, my name is Cody. I'm a software engineer here in San Francisco. In this video series, we're building NLWeb for WordPress, which enables AI chat across your WordPress website. NLWeb is a new protocol released by Microsoft to turn existing websites into MCP servers, which is a way to future-proof your website while enabling a nice AI experience for anyone who's visiting your website to interact with the content that you already have on it. In the last video, we were just kind of testing the default interface that comes with the NLWeb project and exploring how we might be able to tie it directly into WordPress. We came up with a quick architecture diagram of what we're going to be aiming for as we implement this, and in this video we're going to dive right into the WordPress codebase and set up a new plugin and try to see if we can get some of the information pulling out of an existing WordPress site and getting it ranked and pulled into the NLWeb project. Alright, let's dive right into it. Alright, so one thing to note is that WordPress websites actually do have an RSS feed built into them by default. And so one really quick experiment we can do is we can actually take one of my existing WordPress sites and just plug the database in to the RSS feed. Now the RSS feed only defaults to showing 10 posts at a time, but this will be a quick experiment to just see if we can very quickly get some fast results and get the information loaded into NLWeb without having to do any changes to our existing WordPress site. So first, I'm going to go ahead and drop all the information that's in the current database by running this command. Basically, it just makes the QDrop vector client, and then it runs via async, just basically a recreate collection method call, and it actually clears out all of the existing data that we have in our existing QDrop. Next step is to go back to the hello world. Let's look at the instruction to load the RSS feed into our QDrop database. In this case, my website is fieldrocket.us, and then the RSS feed is /feed, and the site name is going to call this fieldrocket. Let's go ahead and run this. Okay, very cool. If you look here, it says successfully uploaded 10 documents. Okay, very cool. It might be that simple. Let's go ahead and come into here. Okay, let's start the server up. Okay, so it's python app file.py. Awesome. Let's come over here, refresh this page. Okay, let's say, now if we were to search this, we can say, what is FieldRocket? What we learned in the last video is that by default, this only does a ranking list, so it actually doesn't respond with any type of answer. So what we can do is, to get around that, we can change this to ask and then query, and then we can say what is filled rocket, and then this extra parameter is generate mode equals summarize. Awesome. You see it's responding with these result batch methods. So this is just, or these are message types. And here it is, summary right here. FieldRocket is a podcast series, not quite, focused on helping contractors and service business owners launch, grow, and manage their businesses. It offers expert guidance. Okay. Yeah, here we go. I mean, starting a contract, marketing services like using photos to attract customers. Okay, so it does have some good information that actually pulled off the WordPress site right from the beginning. Got some weird things wrong, like this podcast series thing, but this is an early technology, an early project. I'm sure that their default implementation will work much, much better in the future. And really the thing that we're just trying to quickly prototype is a way to hook a WordPress instance into this existing project, have it basically analyze the entire contents of the site, and then just provide a little chatbot interface that somebody on the that's visiting your WordPress site could use very quickly. So based on that, we can see that this NLWeb project is going a good direction, and WordPress has the /feed mechanism already set up. Now, I think there's a way to increase that limitation. Right now, it only does 10 posts at a time, whereas if we bump that number up, I think we could actually have it consume much more content. So let's go ahead and try that. So we're going to go to my admin portal here. Then we're going to go over here to our settings and our reading. Okay. And then we have this syndication feed shows the most recent 10 items. Let's just be a little crazy. Let's change this to 999. Now, this might not be viable for existing websites, especially if they actually have people that are using the syndication feed. It can just put a big load on the server. But for the case of this, kind of exploration, this might be a quick way to just kind of test. Okay, so let's go ahead and come back into our NLWeb and let's dump the database again. Okay, let's go ahead and rerun it, and this should hopefully give us more than 10. Okay, so this gave us 38, so this is a small website. Based on that, let's go ahead and run the server again. Let's go over here, let's refresh this. Let's see if it answers any differently now. Result batch summary. Oh, here we go. So it actually is more grounded now. Something about that, it's no longer mentioning the podcast thing. FieldRock is a free field service management software designed to help home service contractors manage and grow their businesses. Okay, very cool. So just that step alone made it much more accurate. Now, even if we didn't have a plugin that would allow somebody to use a chat interface directly on our WordPress site, this right here alone would be valuable. If we had an NLWeb server that had just pulled all of this information down, this would be valuable, especially if you registered this in a MCP server list where it can basically do the ask function. Because what that means is that you can actually get picked up with agentic search because you have your website with an MCP protocol that's broadcasting it out into this kind of new web of agents that's happening. One thing that is funny is that these, if you do search for the word podcast in here, there's all of these references to podcast episodes. I have no idea what this is all about. I wonder too if there's some sort of setting in here by default. Let's look this up. Podcast. DB load utils, include types. Oh, so maybe these are different types of episodes. Yeah, so there's this kind of default list of types, I guess. Maybe ours should have been something different, like a local business. There's also this skip types. So there's a little bit of, I don't know if it, yeah, I don't know exactly how that happened. Podcast episode renderer. Okay, well, either way, that's a quick way that we can just like already have it pulling information in from our WordPress site. So honestly, the only thing we would need after that is two things. One, we would need to change it so that the RSS feed does more than 10 by default, and we probably don't want to change it so that this, we have to change the syndication feed, and that just could be if you already have something that's relying on that syndication feed. 999 is quite a lot, and so you might not want to dump all of that into every single syndication feed request. So another alternative we can do is if we make a very quick plugin that wraps all of this up, we could actually expose our own endpoint that we feed into the NLWeb server, and then that way the NLWeb server will actually just hit that. It can dump out, the entire content of the site, maybe through a similar mechanism as this /feed, but it does it in a way that like not every single syndication feed will pull from that. So let's go ahead and just jump right into making a new WordPress plugin, and we can kind of test and see how that plays out. Okay, so what I did was I launched our Docker desktop environment where our WordPress develop PHP is, and that way I can run WordPress locally. Then in here I created a new WordPress plugin. I created the README, I created the NLWeb-chatbot.php, and now we're just going to go ahead and commit this to our GitHub repo, push it, and then let's test it. First, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new repo. Call this NLWeb-WP. Say NLWeb implementation for the WP ecosystem. Already have a README. I'm going to go ahead and push this repo like this. Okay, went ahead and pushed that. Let's refresh. Awesome, here we go. Okay, to test this now, I'm just going to go ahead and clone the WordPress environment and then set it up with Docker. Alright, we're just installing a fresh WordPress install now. Okay, so we just got WordPress successfully installed locally. Now we're going to go ahead and clone the repo of our plugin. So we're going to go ahead and open up our WordPress thing here. Let's go into plugins. Okay, excellent. In fact, let's cd source WP content plugins. Okay, awesome. Now we're going to clone our repo that we had made here. Okay, let's grab that. Awesome, that should be in there now. Now we should be able to go over here and, okay, so let's go to plugins. Let's go to activate. Awesome, now it's activated. Okay, great. So now that's activated, we should be able to come over here and click. Okay, so this is our current version. We might need a little bit of debugging and tweaking to see if this can work, but we can say, what is FieldRock? All right, there we go. I think we fixed it. So the thing we had to do, awesome. Okay, so this is working. All right, so the way we got this working is that we just basically, in our WordPress plugin, we send the initial. So basically how this works is we send the query through the JavaScript client, and then we send it to our backend URL that is enabled through this plugin. So it goes to the admin ajax.php, and then we have this action, which is this NLWeb query. Pass the query in, which is the user message that they send in, and then that will send it to this NLWeb query handler right here. By default, it uses this localhost 8000, but we're going to set a settings configuration in the WordPress plugin so that in the future you can set this to be anything. Right now we're running the NLWeb project locally on my local development environment, but in the future you're going to want to be able to host this NLWeb P server so that basically, and then it will be pinging that server asking for and that's where the AI will actually generate its response based off of the indexed content that it pulled in from your WordPress site. But let's go ahead and just implement the settings page so that we can set this localhost 8000. Okay, so we just added this initialization for the admin menu where we basically set the settings for the URL for the NLWeb server endpoint. And then based on that, then the server URL will actually pull that out from the configuration, or it will default to this localhost 8000. Let's go ahead and take a look at that really quick. Okay, let's go here to our installed plugins. Okay, so it's actually here under NLWeb Web Chatbot, and then you can set the NLWeb server URL right there. Now, keep in mind that you're going to need to deploy this NLWeb server, especially if you're using this one on a WordPress site that is live and has its own domain and all of that. Right now I'm testing all of this locally just to kind of see how it all works and kind of do the initial development. But what you'll need to do is we'll need to create this NLWeb server and host it, and probably even add a domain with it, or just have the URL, the IP address here. And that will actually be the way that the chatbot interacts with it. You know, if you're in production, it's not going to work using this localhost 8000, right? Because this is, you know, running something locally on your computer, but this still need to be in a hosted environment for this to work properly. Let me know if you want a guide on how to do that, or if you want a simple solution or service, and we can kind of explore that. But so far, we just have the initial really basic implementation of NLWeb through this WordPress plugin. This is really just kind of for local purposes, but from here, then us and other open source contributors can slowly roll it out where we can have guides on how to deploy the NLWeb server, and kind of continue to build this plugin that way. This is just kind of a beachhead, but we're hoping and looking for contributors that can kind of fork this and make improvements and then push it back up into the repo. It's a brand new project, NLWeb, which is barely released. It was actually yesterday announced by Microsoft, so we're just barely getting started, and this is going to be a nice standard open source and free way for anyone who has an existing WordPress website to turn all of that into a nice AI chatbot. So thanks, and let me know if you have any questions. Reach out to me, drop a comment, add me, let's connect, make an issue in the GitHub repo, and we'll figure out how to move this thing forward. So thanks.